And we are live. Welcome back to Dynamos Dozen Folks, the podcast that we bring you each and every week. This is our pro wrestling podcast. Ian isn't with me this week. He's caught up a little bit busy, so I'm flying solo this week, but plenty to go through. We got a real good show in store for you. We're going to do our Road to Wrestlemania update. We're going to talk about the Hall of Fame as it develops slowly but surely. We're going to have a quick chat about UFC 286. What an event it was in London over the weekend. Leon Edwards, absolutely unbelievable. We've got some news there for you, as we always do. And we're going to take a look back at the week in pro wrestling history and bring you some notable birthdays. So come along, join me in the chat, ask me anything you want. Let me know if there's something you want to talk about. If I know about it, I will chat about it. Or if you want to come on or you want to jump on the show, I will drop the link in the chat now. If you want to come on, talk about whatever you want. If you were at Scrappermania over the weekend, OTT's show, 3 huge shows they did over the weekend. They were in Belfast on Sunday, I think it was. Saturday, they did Dublin. And on Friday, no less, they were over in Wolverhampton for 3 huge shows. So if you attended any of those shows and you want to jump on and let us know how you got on at them, did you have a good time? Anything there? What was the standout kind of stuff? Jump on and let us know. No problem. That is the link there for you in the chat. Click on that. Whenever you want to jump on, you can jump on. But we'll kick off the show now and we'll have a chat about the road to WrestleMania 39 as it develops. Let's take a look at this card so far. So we kick it off. We've got Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. The worst kept secret, really. I mean, that's been on the card now for a long time. We know about The Miz is hosting it, of course. It's in LA. We have Bianca Belair versus Asuka. We have Brock Lesnar versus Omos. We're going to be talking a little bit about him later. Some updates for Raw for next week, of course. We've got Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley. We're going to be talking about Rhea Ripley as well. Little bit of an incident in an airport that she tweeted about. So we're going to be getting your thoughts on that tweet as well that she put out about it. We're also going to, there as well, we've got Austin Theory versus John Cena. We've got Edge versus Balor Hell in a Cell. The three-way is now confirmed that we kind of predicted last week. Drew, Sheamus and Gunther going to be an absolute chop fest. Blood oozing out of those chests, no doubt. Then, of course, we have the 6 women event. Trish Stratus, Lita and Becky versus Damage Control, headed up by Bayley. Then confirmed this week, we had, of course, Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul, a match that could potentially steal the show. Logan Paul really gets this whole world of sports entertainment. The shopkeepers doesn't. I'll bring you on now in a minute, lads, in the comments. We finally got the tag match that we wanted, the Usos versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. We're still waiting on confirmation of Mysterio versus Dominic. Looks like it's going to be on the cards, teased at every moment, attacks the whole 9 yards, just shortly to be confirmed. And there's probably 1 or 2 other matches. And then, of course, that women's one as well, the Fatal 4-Way. So far, we have Raquel Gonzalez and Liv Morgan confirmed, first of all. So 6 other women to be confirmed in that match. Should be an interesting one, Fatal 4-Way. But you're looking at the card now evolving, not much more to go at this stage. So let me know in the chat. Tell me, do you think, is this a WrestleMania card worthy of location in LA? WrestleMania goes to Hollywood, or is it falling short of our expectation? We originally thought we were going to get Roman versus Rock. No such luck. And similar issues in the Hall of Fame as well. We'll talk about that in the next slide, of course. But again, the standout match for me, I think the tag match is going to be absolutely electric. I think Balor versus Edge, Hell in a Cell, is going to be unbelievable. I think the 3-way with Gunther is going to be an absolute barn burner. These guys are just going to beat the living hell out of each other. Cody versus Roman, I'm kind of excited about, but I'm not too sure. But stacked with a lot of women's stuff as well. Bianca versus Asuka is going to be quality, and Charlotte versus Rhea. There's another one that could steal the show. And God knows what Logan Paul has planned for Seth Rollins. But very, very interesting. Card kind of shaping up. I'm kind of getting a little bit excited about it. I'm just not too sure yet if it's WrestleMania goes to Hollywood level yet. Let's take some comments. My main man Sean is in there. Big, what about you? And there's the link for Dynamos Dozen. If you want to come on, you want to chat about shows or anything you were at, let me know. Morris says, get Ian to turn his ring light on. Can't see him. Ian is not on the show tonight, Morris. He's busy, so I'm flying solo tonight. Just to let you know, folks, as well, we have a big show coming up on Thursday. You get a second Dynamos Dozen this week on Thursday at 7:30. We're going to be doing an interview with Kenny Noble. Morris put him on to me there the other day. This guy is after writing a book all about WrestleMania, did all his own artwork for it and everything and all. So we're going to get Kenny on the show on Thursday, and we're going to have a chat about his wrestling fandom, of course, and stuff like that, a bit of background to Kenny. We're going to talk about the process of writing the book and the artwork and all that kind of stuff. And let me tell you, this book looks spectacular. The link is in the description if you want to purchase the book. And coming up, WrestleMania Saturday, which I think is Saturday week, we're going to be doing an exclusive book launch in the shop. And Kenny is going to be there on hand to sign copies and stuff like that. So exciting times for Kenny with his book launching and stuff like that. And as always, Wrestlemania there to support anyone as best as we can. Sean's in with the shopkeepers dozen. Yeah, absolutely. And alas, the mighty Dynamo has been overthrown. Not quite. He's just off for a week. Morris, I'm afraid this isn't doing it for me. Yeah, I know. Do you mean the podcast episode or do you mean the Mania card, Morris? And Sean's back in. As long as it's good, LA is just for the movie team. Yeah, absolutely. And Morris, but in terms of match quality, I think it will be high. Yeah, I think there's a lot of match quality there. I don't know. I just don't get that, that blow it out of the water kind of star power kind of thing. I know Roman is the man and stuff like that. Cody with the return and all that kind of stuff. And of course, Rhea's flying high at the moment. Brock versus Omos is a kind of a damp squid. And of course, before we go any further, you can look forward to this next week on Raw. We get the weigh-in for Brock versus Omos. Set your alarms for that, folks. One not to be missed, or maybe not. But there you go. So that's our road to WrestleMania so far. We will keep you updated. We are expecting Mysterio versus Dominic to be announced, and there's probably one or two other loose ends to be tied up as well. Sean, I'd be ashamed of Dominic if he was my son. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But is he Ray's son? Or is he Eddie's son? We've had this conversation a few times now. He looks more like Eddie's son than he does Ray's son. But yeah, maybe it's time to dust down that I'm your pappy t-shirt and break it out for WrestleMania week. Now, Morris back in. Now the card, I always like looking at you, and I love you too, Morris. Appreciate it. Thank you, my friend. So yeah, that's our WrestleMania road to WrestleMania 39 update delivered. Still a few bits to tie down, of course. You have the Roman Cody main monster attraction, Brock and Omos. We'll hate how much we'll love Logan and Seth, and Cena's there to add some star power. Yeah, absolutely, Sean. You've summed it up. You've summed it up as you always do. And funny enough, Sean, you've summed up Mania, and you haven't even mentioned the women's match. Not even a women's match, and there's 4 on the card. 4 on the card. Nearly half, nearly a night of women's matches. Let's see. If Dominic came into my house with any of that bandana shite, he'd be out the door as quick as he came in. He's rocking his colours, Sean. He's rocking his colours. 619. 619. He's rocking his colours. Let's talk about the Hall of Fame. Who would you like to see? Perfect time and DJ Taz 316. Who would you like to see in the 2013 Hall of Fame? Had a few I was looking at today. Of course, I'd love to see Jim Cornette and the Midnight Express Imagine that induction. Jimmy Cornette on the stage going absolutely ballistic. That would be a pretty cool one. Demolition for me would be a really cool one. I was a big fan of Demolition. Met them last year at WrestleCon. I'd love to see Demolition going in. Of course, King Kong Bundy would be a good one to go in as well. There's a few out there, but certainly the list every year is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. But this is kind of our latest update. Let me know in the chat, guys, who you want in there as well. Not just me. DJ Taz, tell me who you would like to see going there. I'd like to get your opinions as well, of course, in the chat. And again, don't forget the link is in the chat. If you want to come on and talk about anything, jump in there. Feel free to jump on. We'll bring you on as soon as we get through some of the stuff. Not a problem at all. But they mentioned, they announced Muda, Ric Flair on the bump, I think it was, or on Friday there, I think he mentioned the great Muda going in. Great induction and a great choice. And of course, last night we got Andy Kaufman going in as well. No doubt be inducted by Jerry the King Lawler. But the talk coming out at the moment is the one that they had pinned as the headliner, the Animal, Dave Batista, potentially will not be going into the Hall of Fame this year, with conflicting schedules apparently being cited as the reason. So we'll see. We're still not too sure who the headliner is going to be. We did mention last week that Rey Mysterio in there being announced could easily be the headliner. What a career Rey has had, culminating probably with this match now against his son Dominic. Should be interesting. Will they announce the Midnight Express? I'd love to see them go in, of course. Jim Cornette on his podcast was saying, I'm not too sure. Jimmy, of course, will be a little bit difficult that way. A fair play to him holding out for what he wants or whatever he needs. But still a few, I'd imagine, to be announced, but they need to ramp it up. These things are going quite slow. We're pretty close to Mania now, and some of these things should be in place at this stage. So far, the Hall of Fame shaping up okay, but lacking a little bit of announcement. We've only had really 3 confirmed yet. Stacey, I'm sure, will be confirmed. I know they're in talks with her. Dave is looking a little bit dodgy, of course. Midnight Express will be kind of cool if they could get it over the line. But who else are they going to announce? This is not the bones of a Hall of Fame yet that would have me rushing out to buy that combo ticket Mania week. And I do love the Hall of Fame. Sean back in the comments. But what will they do with Cena and Theory? You can't have Theory lose, but you can't really have Cena lose to someone who's not quite there yet. Plus, I don't think Cena will come back full-time yet. Interesting. I'm sure they'll come up with something pretty good. Cena's he's vintage. He's royalty in there, you know what I mean? So who knows? Who knows what they're going to come up with? We kind of don't know what these guys' plans are. Who knows? There might be a space opened up there. I know Cena's out the door with work at the moment, but there might be a space opened up there to put in a little run there with the US belt all the way to SummerSlam. Who knows? But we'll see how it evolves. And maybe, as you talk about Theory not being there quite yet, maybe a win at Mania over Cena will be the one that puts him there. So we shall see. Sean back in as well. I hope Andy Kaufman accepts the induction on the night. Nice. And Morris is there. If they're talking about inducting refs, Danny Davis should go in. He said to me, WWE won't put him in until he dies because it would be cheaper. Danny knows his price, doesn't he? Danny does know his price. And of course, check out, of course, Cheap Heat Productions podcast. Absolutely brilliant. Just dropped an interview there or an episode with Snitsky. It is awesome. Really well worth a watch and stuff like that. Some really good stuff in it. Morris getting some quality guests on week in, week out. So get over there, show the love and the support. This man is absolutely killing it. Burning the candle at both ends. Remember, a lot of his interviews come from the States. So it's not your typical Ireland 9 to 5. He's working outside of hours while holding down a full job. Get over there and give him all the love and support. DJ Taz back in. I'd love Demolition and Butch Reed. Yeah, Butch Reed is a great shout. Butch Reed, Demolition, yeah, really like to see Demolition go in. I don't know what the relationship there at the moment is like with Axe. I know it was slightly frayed to say the least, but let's see what happens. Yeah, but Demolition would be kind of cool. That'd be one actually, because I'm not going. I'd be sick that I'm missing it because I was a huge Demolition fan. Demolition, Powers of Pain, all those great tag teams back there, unbelievable. Morris reckons Cena is winning. Handshake after to put Theory over. Yeah, not bad. Big shout out. And Ian was in the comments joining us tonight. What's the crack, Niall? Where is Ian Kelly? Ian is off tonight. He has a few things to take care of, but he will be back next week. And just in case you didn't catch it earlier, Ian as well, we have a special guest on, an extra episode of Dynamos Dozen this week, where we're going to have a guy, Kenny Noble, on, who has written a book about Wrestlemania. And we're going to be interviewing him on the night during the episode. So if you want to join us, it's a live show. You can ask Kenny any questions you want. The link is already up there. The episode is already, the link to the episode is already up there. And the link to buy the book is in the description. And we will be doing a book launch Mania Saturday, which is, I think, Saturday week, if I'm right, live in the shop. So you can drop in, probably purchase. I don't know if Kenny will have books there. He should do, but we'll know on Thursday. We'll nail it all down for you on Thursday if you feel like coming up, meeting Kenny, talk about the book. Some amazing artwork in there that he did all himself and stuff like that. So, well, we're checking it out. You're live on the flat screen. I'm up on the big one, am I? Jeez, I don't need any bigger screens. I'm big enough as it is. Don't be making them any bigger. Just in case you missed that, as well, your highlight for Raw next week, the weigh-in between Brock Lesnar and Omos. Very, very UFC-ish, isn't it? Let's see what happens there. Set your alarms for that one. Ian is watching Graham Potter highlights on Chelsea. Shouldn't take long. She's going in hard on Ian. Yeah, let's talk some news then. Should be an interesting one, this one. So we start out. Trish Stratus was discussing the importance of Fit Finlay in changing the perception of women's wrestling on the Getting Over podcast. Some very interesting comments there, and she remembered going to Fit and stuff like that, and it was a time where they were kind of trying to break out from the older kind of, that early diva kind of stuff where they weren't really taken serious and stuff like that. And she was talking about how Finlay, because they were under the radar at the time, it hadn't really come to the forefront of the women's evolution and stuff like that. They were able to get away with a little bit and do stuff and stuff like that. And she talks about the time with matches with Finlay there as the agent in the background and stuff for the women's division. So pretty cool, interesting insight into it. The dead man. The dead man appeared on Insight with Chris Van Vliet podcast. Undertaker he was expecting a longer match against Cena at WrestleMania, and he was talking about how Vince McMahon thought the Undertaker's squash of John Cena was absolutely hilarious. We know that Taker was coming back, of course, after the poor showing against Roman, and he was having the match against Cena, and he was training. They convinced him to come back, of course, and he was training. He was expecting a 45 minute match and stuff like that. So that's what he was training, what's in mind. He was saying that he got a ring sent down and all, and he was training in this ring. And, we've seen some of the background stuff to this anyway. And he said then when he got there, he realized it was going to be like this quick kind of squash match and stuff like that. And he was really, really disappointed. But he made the point that Cena and McMahon got their way. It's not what he wanted, but Cena colluding with McMahon as to what to do and stuff like that. So interesting narrative on that. March the 17th, Davey Richards was announced his retirement after retirement from Prestige Wrestling and Team Ambition Wrestling School. And other companies have severed their ties with him due to domestic violence allegations. Anyone who knows this podcast would know that I'm a huge fan of Davey Richards, the American Wolves, his time in Ring of Honor and stuff like that. For me, he was everything that encompassed kind of Dynamite Kid and Chris Benoit in the ring and stuff like that. He's fabulous wrestler and stuff like that. But he's announced his retirement on the back of these allegations. He did work a match for OTT in Wolverhampton on Friday night. But he was pulled from the Saturday and Sunday shows. So we'll wait and see how this all evolves. But certainly Davey Richards would have been high up on my list of wrestlers and stuff like that I liked. But we'll see what comes out of this. A lot of hate on him there the other day, and he was making the point that in martial arts certain things happen and stuff like that. The background, you can see it there online and stuff like that, but just kind of weird. For me, came out of kind of left field, WWE WrestleMania 33, the match between The Undertaker and Roman Reigns, may not have gone the way that the dead man had planned, but the WWE Hall of Famer admitted that it is really cool to see how Roman Reigns has evolved. when he was speaking on the Bet Las Vegas On Demand show. He was talking about how Roman Reigns, since that match, has evolved to become this guy, the tribal chief, the head of the table, and all this kind of thing. So really, really cool. That man out there doing a lot of podcast work and show work at the moment, and really giving props to a lot of the roster there at the moment and stuff. So it's cool to kind of hear it. Mercedes Moné, she's been talking a little bit as well, formerly known as Sasha Banks, of course. She named some of the WWE talent she'd still like to wrestle, and she was talking, of course, about Bayley would be a key one, of course, and the other one, of course, is Zoe Stark. These are the people she'd like to wrestle in WWE at the moment. Sean, back in, watching that OTT show in Wolver right now, that Davey was the most cursed Scrappermania ever. Fair play to Joe and the team for making the right decision and still putting on a class show. Yeah, it's just, this is weird, you know. I mean, this is the epitome of card subject to change, isn't it? This is the epitome of card subject to change. And it's fair play to OTT to be that dynamic in terms of able to pull the card and move things around and do what they need to do and stuff like that. A lot of stress and a lot of pressure on the people in there in OTT. Fair play to them. 3 shows in one weekend. 1 show in a weekend is probably stressful enough, but to do 3 of them in 3 different locations, pull it all together. A lot of heat with that Davey Richards situation, of course, that came in and stuff like that had to be dealt with. And then, of course, you know, Eddie Kingston as well. So, you know, fair play to them keeping it together. Other promotions probably would have fell by the wayside in terms of putting on those shows with what went down. Fair play to OTT. Acers, how are you, my friend? Tony Khan announced Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor on Friday, the 31st of March on Fight TV. I'll check that out. We'll have news for you on it next week. See what it's like. But yeah, it should be a good one. And Sean, Mox announced, Mox removed, Eddie and Pac replacements. Eddie gets COVID. Davey Richards pulled. Couldn't ride it. Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And like these aren't like, you know, openers on the card and stuff like that. They were losing. This was the meat and gravy, as they say, of your show. You know what I mean? So hats off to everyone in OTT for what they did over the weekend for the fans. Mercedes Moné also, she was talking about she wants to wrestle Mickie James, and she came out at Planet Comic Con and said she wants to retire her ass. Big words from Mercedes Moné, looking for a match against Mickie James, no doubt for the Impact Women's title. Should be an interesting one. Casual conversations with the classic. Stone Cold Steve Austin explained what prompted his decision to come out of retirement for WrestleMania 38. Of course, a fabulous WrestleMania in Dallas, and himself and Kevin Owens knocked it out of the park, and then we Theory and Pat McAfee and all that kind of good stuff was really, really cool. But what he was saying was, he says, of course, he says the stars aligned, and that's what he really wanted. He said he started in the Sportatorium, of course, the famous Sportatorium with the Von Erichs and stuff like that. Go do your history if you don't know, folks. He said it seemed fitting to wrestle in Dallas, and he praised on Kevin Owens. Did a stellar job both in build-up and in match. Great interview there. Check it out. Casual conversations with the classic. Austin on it this week, talking about the background to his match at 38, how it all involved. Started out kind of as an idea, and then week on week it built and built and built and became this match then. Kevin Owens, what a performer, and unbelievable on the mic as well. Interesting one here. We were talking about Seth Rollins there and Logan Paul earlier, but Maximum Male Models believe Seth Rollins belongs in the Fashion Hall of Fame. Let us know in the chat, what do you think of Seth Rollins? What do you think of Seth Rollins' fashion? Is Seth Rollins' fashion exactly what you like? Is it really up your street? Or is it a bit out there? I think the suits and the jackets are really, really cool. That's just me, though. How about that AEW reference on WWE Raw? Tell me about it, Ian. I might have missed it and stuff like that when I was prepping shows and stuff like that. So let me know about it. But not surprising. I mean, these references are going back. It's open. It's open book now at this stage, really. It's open war, really. The Aaron podcast, Aaron Anderson shared that Ricky Steamboat wanted to be a heel, but knew it wouldn't work, and he had advised him so. This going back talking about Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. So let us know in the chat as well your knowledge of Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Could Ricky the Dragon Steamboat have pulled off a heel character? or is he the eternal babyface? Let us know. Good show. Sean, back in the comments. I hope he comes out in Sam Smith's inflatable Brit outfit at Mania. Can you imagine? Good Lord. Imagine the heat that would bring. Good Lord. Though I have to say, I wouldn't fancy wrestling in it. What a suit, though. Crazy, crazy times we live in. Let's talk about this, folks. I want to get your thoughts on this in the chat. Rhea Ripley posted this on her Twitter. People need to respect that no means no. At airports, I do not follow me outside. Today has put me off completely. I will not sign anything that isn't a personal photo of us anymore. Hate me, I don't care. Disagree with me, try putting yourselves in our shoes for one bloody day. This was a tweet that she had put up. Obviously, she arrived at an airport, or presume into a town for a show or something like that, and she was getting harassed and practically chased out of the airport to sign stuff or whatever it was and stuff like that. And she kind of felt that it was a real invasion of her privacy and stuff like that. So tell me in the chat, what do you think about this? I've experienced this firsthand. Well, I've seen it, not experienced it, but I've seen it. Wrestling fans are an interesting breed unto themselves, let's say, I'll put it. They can be quite bolshy and quite direct, I would say, in their approach to getting what they want. And obviously this had Rhea a little bit stressed. And I can understand as well, I'm sure Rhea Ripley at the moment, her rise to stardom has been quite sharp and stuff like that, and she's been absolutely fantastic. We give her all the flowers and plaudits every week on this show, as you can imagine. But she's in a big position at the moment now, a couple of weeks out from WrestleMania. Pressure's on, turned up a little notch or so and stuff like that in the Judgment Day, and obviously her big match coming up against Charlotte, which is going to be absolutely unbelievable. But what do you think? Let me know, what do you think is too much? What is too much in this? I mean, obviously between her own hard work and obviously the fans have put her in this position, in terms of it's quite a privileged position, but quite a stressful position. So where does it cross the line? Where is it too much, or how do you kind of find that balance? Because obviously you somewhat want to keep the fans on your side and stuff like that. And we've experienced it before. We've seen it with CM Punk and stuff like that. And we need to just, let us know what you think. Acers is in. She's absolutely right about fans. Yeah, absolutely. And Sean, pisses me off so much. Meet and greets and shows are the place to get autographs. You recognize a wrestler, say hello, and let them get on with their day. They're normal people just like us. Yeah, I suppose, but there is a certain kind of, and I'm not justifying what happened here in any way, shape, or form, but there is a certain kind of starstruck stardom to this kind of thing as well. That, fans sometimes, they just, these are people that you could meet in the street. They're just normal people and stuff like that. But when they do bump into people who are their idols or people who they follow, they just get so starstruck. They lose all sense of space, of normal manners. And they also feel, I think sometimes they react in a way where they feel, because you might be, say, a big fan of Rhea Ripley, so you buy all the t-shirts, you buy the merch, you book the meet and greet, you go to the fan accesses, whatever it is, that you kind of, sometimes they nearly feel like they have a right that when they see these people out in public to do whatever they want. You see, these are just normal people. They go out for meals, they socialize, they do their thing and stuff like that and all. And it was interesting to read the comments under this tweet. If you get a chance, guys, go read the comments as well, because they're interesting. There's kind of quite a variation on it. But one of the comments was an interesting one. It was about a dad with his kid, and he had gone to a wrestling show, and they were at a restaurant. And the restaurant they were at, some of the wrestlers came in to have a meal after the show, and they were sitting in a booth, and in the booth right beside them, a number of wrestlers had gathered to have their meal and stuff like that. And he said he would never think of doing that. What he did was he just waved and said hello, and he left them to have their meal. And I think that's a nice way. I mean, you have to understand, these wrestlers, they need their own downtime as well. They need their own privacy and stuff like that as well. It's not game on 24/7 every minute of the day and stuff like that. And I'm sure as well with the amount of travel that these guys and girls are doing all the time, they're probably most of the time absolutely banjaxed. And the last thing they need coming off a flight is just crowds of people in an airport with stuff or whatever it is, just absolutely surrounding them, you know, diving in for signatures and stuff to be signed and stuff like that. And all. It's really weird as well. I find it weird that people hang out and stuff like that. I used to find it weird as well, even when I went to the Dublin shows and stuff like that, that people would just hang out at a hotel, at the front of a hotel, all day. All day, like. And it's kind of like, I don't know. It was just, to me, it just seemed weird that would be the use of your time, you know. Where we let's come in Sean again here. Had Liv Morgan and Rey Mysterio not have been so disciplined and respectful, they would have taken those fans' heads off. Yeah, absolutely. And we have Ian in as well. That's the life of a pro wrestler. To an extent, I think it is, but I think there has to be some sort of line that we draw at times to just like, come on, you know. Morris back in. The big issue here is most of these creeps are vultures looking to make money off their back. Yeah, well, I mean, that's the way it has gone. It's not really a case now. I wouldn't say all of it, but I'd say a lot of it now. Maybe it's 50-50. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. A lot of these people getting stuff autographed now and stuff like that, they're getting it done to flip it. They're not necessarily like I'd love to have a Rhea Ripley figure autographed in my collection, or a pop vinyl when it comes out or something like that. That'd be really, really cool. But I think they look on it now that I think a lot of the wrestlers now, when they see people shoving merch in their face, be it belts or figures or pops or whatever it is, they just keep on thinking now, eBay. But there is a lot of fans out there, a lot of you guys in the chat here, plus myself and stuff like that, who are actual collectors. You can see stuff behind me. This whole room is covered in wrestling stuff that I collect and stuff like that. So it's not necessarily eBay bound. I mean, maybe one day it will. Maybe I might need to. But I mean, at the moment, that's not why I get stuff signed, or that's not why I collect stuff. It's not with eBay in mind. But yeah, Morris, great point. Yeah, if let. Yeah, absolutely. And Sean back in as well. Too much is trying to get an autograph in an airport after an early get up and probably a long flight. Hotels too. Yeah, absolutely. These people are living out of suitcases at times. Horrible existence. Ian, why are you worried? Not as if you're Ric Flair. Yeah, but it's, again, it can be a little bit overwhelming, let's say, Sean, I totally get that, but privacy is key, and every wrestler is a human who needs it just as much as we do. Yeah, absolutely. And Morris back in. Pop collecting sock jerkers. Who asked someone to sign 20 or 30 things in the airport? Freaks. Whereas, have you seen the amount of these auction sites out on social media at the moment, lads, with 100 Funko Pops signed by Stone Cold Steve Austin and all, and lads with multiple fucking figures. It's gone crazy, absolutely gone crazy. What's so baffling is when fans always know when superstars are flying into different cities and countries. Yeah, it's real sort of stalker kind of stuff as well, isn't it? I just wanted to get your thoughts on it because it is an interesting one. It popped up today, and I thought that would get us going as a conversational piece. Absolutely. How much do you think Taker charges in the airport? If I was him, I'd charge double. Everyone knows my thoughts on Taker at the moment in terms of these charges of these things and stuff like that. I don't think anyone approaches the Taker in the airport and stuff like that. Approaching Rhea Ripley is one thing. Approaching Mark Calloway is a different kettle of fish altogether. Sean back in. I heard someone say that they saw a bunch of wrestlers in a restaurant and just waved, said hello, and said they were fans. When they finished, they thanked the fans for being respectful and got pics. Yeah, absolutely. That's the way to do it. And the way to do it is kind of don't be pushy and forceful and stuff. Let it happen naturally and stuff like that. We were staying in a hotel last year for WrestleMania 38, literally 10 minutes from the stadium. And we had a number of wrestlers staying in the hotel. Mark Henry was there. The Dudleys were there. Tommy Dreamer was there. There was a bunch of guys there. I can't remember. There was other wrestlers as well. All attending WrestleCon, but they were staying in our hotel. And we kind of like just walked up, said hello, shook the hand and moved on. Didn't look for pictures and stuff like that. Some of the guys did, and they got pictures with them and stuff like that. But these guys were attending WrestleCon and stuff like that, so they were happy to take a few pics and sign a few bits and stuff like that. But it was never pushy and never forceful. And if they needed their own space, it was all good. And I think that's the way to be. But yeah, spot on, Sean. Yeah, that's the one I was talking about, actually. They commented within this tweet. That was the same one I was talking about. And sorry, I stand corrected. Why worry, Rhea? So relax. You're not China. It's been compared to her, though. And she is in a very big position at the moment in WWE. And could be women's champion within 2 weeks. Sean, wrestlers don't owe you anything. Absolutely. And this is the thing, isn't it? Because this is what drives the approach sometimes, because sometimes they think that they do owe us something. And like it's you have to understand how far your minuscule little part of being a fan has pushed in that direction, stuff like that. But I suppose collectively as a fan base, the reaction of a fan base in terms of during matches and all that kind of stuff on social media, and of course the purchase of merchandise, all these things are huge in terms of your potential success or failure. But yeah, get the comment there, all right. And Sean, that's why there is meet and greets. The wrestlers is there to meet you, say hello, and get an autograph and picture. When they've been traveling non-stop around the world on no sleep is not it. Yeah, absolutely spot on. Just thought I'd get your thoughts on it, guys. So it was a good one to chat about, and I'm glad I brought it up now just to get your thoughts. I know all you guys here in the chat, all you Dynamos, dozen subscribers and fans and stuff like that, you know the stuff. You've been to the shows. You know what way it goes down and how it should work. We don't want wrestlers ever feeling uncomfortable and stuff like that. It's been a tough time for them as well, coming back after the pandemic and stuff like that as well, trying to keep that distance and being careful and all that kind of thing, and trying to, I suppose, once we didn't have to keep that distance, kind of adjusting again to not having to keep that distance and, get up and close with fans and stuff like that again has probably been another adjustment. Remember, guys, these people have gone from, wrestling in front of thousands of people up close and personal, and then they had to wrestle in empty arenas during the pandemic, and they had to keep their space. And we've seen how the fan access stuff has had to go. You have to keep your distance. It's a picture from a distance. And now they're starting to try to get back close to the fan base as well. But sometimes in a private situation, up close just is not the way to go. And we'll leave it at that. Ian, shout out to Ian Kelly, missing you fella this evening. He'll enjoy that. Well done, Ian. I'd like to hear that. Absolutely. Let's get in and talk about the week in pro wrestling history. And we have some really good ones, of course. I know you'll say, of course. The big one, of course, is the one that's in the thumbnail, of course. We'll leave that to last because it's always a good one, Acers, especially if superstars have children of their own to be dealing with at airports. Yeah, if you're with your family and stuff like that and all, it's like family is private time and stuff like that. And these guys, they sacrifice an awful lot of time either away from their family or having to travel with their family and maintain that kind of family kind of circle and stuff. So always give them the room they deserve. I'd love to see Nathan Jones come out of retirement and beat the piss out of Dominic Mysterio. It's an interesting one, that's it. Where Ian, tell me in the comments, where does the dynamic of this come from? How do you pin Nathan Jones with Dominic Mysterio? Let me know in the comments. Don't just throw that one out there and like that's straight out of left field. Let me know how you came to the idea of pinning Nathan Jones. I know he's a big deal of that, but there's hundreds of big deals you would think of before Nathan Jones that could beat the piss out of Dominic Mysterio. So let's see. Let's start off with this pro wrestling history, and I'll keep on taking your comments. We're going back, first of all, 1978 in Madison Square Garden, New York. Superstar Billy Graham defeated the WWF champion Bob Backlund via referee stoppage due to Backlund receiving a cut over his eye, and the title couldn't change hands due to stoppage, however. So Backlund lost the match but retained the belt. Talking about when pro wrestling is real. Remember, pro wrestling is real. Cut over the eye. doctor stoppage, so he couldn't receive the belt. The belt was retained due to a doctor stoppage. GP back in. Heidenreich versus Nathan Jones. There's an interesting one now. That's more like it. Dare I say Heidenreich, former. Should I even say it on the show? Former Road Warrior? No, can't say that. Sure, we can't. Cannot say that. Good Lord. And Acers, please God, no. Yeah, absolutely. 1994 WWF WrestleMania 10 was held at Madison Square Garden in New York, as those 0-1s generally are or had been, in front of 19,444 fans. Not quite the 93,000 in the Silver Dome. This was the first WrestleMania that didn't have Hulk Hogan on the card, and was the first time the WWF Championship was defended twice in one night at the WrestleMania pay-per-view. So there you go, 1994 WrestleMania 10. Starting to show my age here now, aren't I? Nathan Jones was actually in prison, yeah, absolutely. And Morris is coming in. Aki Bono versus Juice and Domino. Good Lord. Juice and Domino. Remember those boys with Cherry? Cool. I thought it was a cool gimmick at the time and stuff like that. Check out Domino as well. Juice, of course, we know is Snooker's son. He was the cameraman at 25, and Shawn Michaels pushed him into Taker, and he got pinned for that one. That Taker nearly killed himself, nearly broke his neck. That dive to the outside, and of course Domino, of course, being Cliff Compton. Check him out. He was on a Coca Cabana podcast episode. They were talking about being on tour down in South Africa. It's a phenomenal episode. Check it out if you haven't listened to it. Put it on tonight, going to bed and something like that. You will be in stitches listening to this guy. Classic stuff. 1998, the Slammy Awards took place at the Westin Hotel in Chicago. This was the last occurrence of the awards until 2008. So went on a sabbatical for 10 years, the Slammy Awards, and then came back. 1999, one of the most iconic moments of the Attitude Era took place on Monday Night Raw. Of course, you know what I'm talking about. It involved the rattlesnake himself, Stone Cold Steve Austin, against dousing the corporation with a hose from a Coors Light truck in the famous beer bat. The night also saw the Big Show's WWE in-ring debut with a loss to Austin. How could we forget the beer bat? What a hosing down he gave. And the story goes as well, didn't he split his lip because he tried to drink some of the beer out of the hose as well, but the pressure of the hose nearly blew his lip in two and stuff like that. He nearly knocked the tooth out and stuff like that. He was telling that story and stuff like that. And of course, then years later, we had Kurt Angle doing the Milk one, which was cool as well. Milk-O-Mania, how could we forget? But these are iconic times. 1984, Ric Flair defeated Harley Race to win the NWA World Heavyweight Championship in Singapore. Just going to show you the reach of the NWA and how big it was at the time from a global point of view. And that's 1984. Ric Flair versus Harley Race in Singapore for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. What a match. 1997, WrestleMania 13 took place at the Rosemont Horizon in suburban Chicago. The Rosemont Horizon, shout out to these buildings. We talk about them all the time. Bret the Hitman Hart defeated Stone Cold Steve Austin in a submission match, which was officiated by special guest referee Ken Shamrock. How could we forget it? The blood pouring out of Austin on the night and stuff like that. And he ended up passing out and stuff like that. Iconic moments in time that we still watch and see to this day. Acers back in the comments. We can get my mouse working. This week in wrestling, Undertaker last match at WrestleMania 36, the Boneyard match. Fantastic way to bow out. Just about to drop that one. Acers, but hats off to you. Big one. Love it. And Eno, what's up, Morris? All good. Nice one, Acers. I knew we wouldn't forget that one. Have it there on the list. 1980, the first ever singles match between the WWF and AWA World Championship took place in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, as Nick Bockwinkel took on Bob Backlund. The match finished in a double countout. This was the first ever singles match between the two federations and stuff like that. So pretty cool. That sort of cross-promotional stuff there. But we are talking, remember, this is 1980. 1980. Teleport yourself back to that time. Think about it now. Look at us now, 2023. Imagine having a cross-promotional match between WWE and AEW. How would you pull that one together? But they did it back in 1980. 2020, of course, Acers just gave it away. The cinematic boneyard match between The Undertaker and AJ Styles to be broadcast as the main event of WrestleMania 36 Night 1 was taped on location in Florida. You've seen all the background to this match and what they went through and the struggles of Taker in the match and in his personal life at the time and stuff like that. I think his brother, wasn't it, had passed away and stuff. And it was a great insight into it. That Taker documentary and stuff was absolutely sensational. And it was a really, really cool match as a concept match and stuff like that. Really went down well and it was perfect. And AJ was awesome in it and stuff like that. That moment when he's sitting up, I think it's on is he on a dozer or something like that? And Taker just comes up behind him like that. Really, really cool. Loved it. 1991 at a WWF Superstars of Wrestling TV show, tapings in Las Vegas. Earthquake, kayfabe, the squashed Damien, the pet python of Jake the Snake Roberts, while Roberts was tied up in the ropes. Remember it well, shout out. We loved your Earthquake and stuff like that. And Jake Roberts squashing the snake. Unbelievable. Earthquake was up for anything, wasn't he? Cool times, 1991. And 2001, on the go-home edition of Monday Night Raw before WrestleMania, Vince McMahon revealed on a live simulcast with WCW Monday Nitro. How could we forget it? It's in the thumbnail, guys. This was the hint from Panama City in Florida that he had purchased WCW and announced that he had bought his competition. And of course, remember it well, Shane O in the ring down in Panama City. The name on the contract is McMahon. Shane McMahon. How could we forget it? Cheap Heat back in again. Have a bag of wheelies in. All good, man. A bag of wheelies. Love it. And Honky Tonk Man was a total boss on commentary at WrestleMania 13. Yeah, absolutely. And Acer's back in as well. Samoa Joe won Ring of Honor World Championship, holding it for 645 days. Absolutely outstanding in Ring of Honor, he was, Samoa Joe. And of course, brilliant in TNA as well. Very, very good in NXT, but just kind of really didn't transcend up onto the red and blue brands, unfortunately, but super wrestler, big fan of Samoa Joe. And Morris back in. I think Ahmed Johnson should go into the Hall of Fame. First black IC champ, significant. Yeah, absolutely. Let's finish up then with some notable birthdays. Just been really enjoyable. Really enjoying this show, guys. Thanks for jumping into the comments as well. Really appreciate it. And like I said, anyone in the chat, check out Cheap Heat Productions podcast and make sure you go over there, subscribe, like, share, hit the bell notification. Just did an episode with Snitsky, so check it out. So let's get into these notable birthdays. And of course, a man that I talk about a lot is my Ring of Honor fandom. Homicide, 1977. What a wrestler he was. Some of those matches in there in Ring of Honor, and he was also really cool at TNA. Big fan of Homicide. 1959, we're going all the way back, showing his age. The man himself, Sting, the icon. It's his birthday this week. And of course, 1972, a man who we lost due to medical complications after an injury that he suffered at a TNA show that I was at. The man himself, Chris Candido, was a big fan of his. He got a bad leg injury, as far as I know, and the clot in the injury, I think, traveled into his body, into his heart and stuff like that, and he passed away. Very, very sad. I was actually at the show where the injury took place, so really, really sad. And of course, 1954, Tim White. How could we forget Tim White? 1983, Mike Mondo. And we rounded out, short one this week as well, not a lot of birthdays this week. We rounded out with 1977, Sylvain Grenier. That is your notable birthdays for the week. Acers, Vince McMahon also firing Double J on the same show. Yeah, absolutely. Some good ones in there. You're doing your homework now. You're getting the feel of this show now where you take the look back in history and you're looking back in history yourselves and you have them ready for us, which is really cool. And we enjoy that. Do that every week because I can obviously only ever pick a selection and stuff like that. Lockdown 05, that's the one I was at it. Lockdown 05, yeah, absolutely. Tammy Acers, let me refresh that as well. Is that the one where Abyss nearly took the head off AJ Styles with the door of the cage? Is that the same one, I think? And was that also the one, was that Raven versus Jeff Hardy where he came off the top of the cage down through all the tables? Hopefully my memory is right now, but I think that's Lockdown 05. I think it is. I was in the mosh pit of that. It was absolutely crazy. The mosh pit was nearly as bad as the matches. It was mental. Great crowd TNA when you're there live, especially for those pay-per-views coming out of Universal Studios in Orlando. It was great fun over there at the time. Ted in, sorry, yeah. Snitsky kicked the baby. Yeah, absolutely. It's classic stuff. He's dropped some good stuff on Morris's interview, in fairness. Well, we're taking a look. Morris was dropping shorts on it and stuff like that. Well, really cool. Make sure you go over there. And Lockdown 2005, Acers, will put that in there, yeah. And then, Ted, you are correct. That is Lockdown 05. Cheers, Ted. Appreciate it. Just sometimes I can't remember. I've been to so many shows at this stage, and I'm trying to recollect some of the things that happened, stuff like that. But I remember Candido in the match, and he had to come out fairly quick. I think it was was it down near his shin or his ankle or something like that he had done? He had broke his leg or his ankle or something like that, and he was taken away. And I think he passed away on the Tuesday from complications, as far as I know. I mean, he was the partner, I think, of Sonny at the time, if I'm right. I think I'm right anyway, but he passed away, I think, on the Tuesday from complications, and I couldn't believe it. I think at that stage, I might have gone home at that stage, back to Ireland. I couldn't believe he passed away because he hobbled out of the ring, was taken out by people and stuff like that. Didn't look too serious, as in life-threatening. And I think it was a clot that travelled to his heart from the injury he sustained in the ring. If I'm right, I think that's what it is. But RIP, of course, Chris Candido. He was a great wrestler. Really enjoyed his work. That's it, folks. Another guts of nearly an hour has flown by. Eno will be back next week. Again, just to remind you, I will be back on Thursday night, 7:30. I will be back. Kenny Noble will be my guest. We will be talking about this fantastic book he has written. Some spectacular artwork as well. Make sure you're in the live chat there. You can ask Kenny whatever you want. I'm going to be asking him all about his fandom, what he loves about wrestling, what he doesn't like at the moment, his thoughts on Mania coming up maybe. We'll have a good chat about the book, and we'll be announcing then that book launch in the shop Saturday week, Mania Saturday. Probably, I don't know, maybe afternoon, maybe 2 to 4:30 or something like that, or 2 to 4 or something like that. Hoping Kenny will have some books, stuff like that, but we'll give you all the detail on Thursday. We'll tie it down. There is a link. The show is up there in terms of the YouTube link, and within the description of that, there is a link if you want to go buy the book. I think it's €25. It's worth it, tell you folks now, just for the artwork. The work that this man has put into this book is absolutely phenomenal. Ted back in. My sad one is when I went to Mania 30, landed home to hear the Ultimate Warrior pass away. Heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. I did a couple of episodes when we were on the 4 Podmen back in the day on the Dynamo Podcast Network. They're probably still up there on YouTube if you look for them. But I did a show about the Ultimate Warrior. Myself and Jay, shout out to Jay, one of our 4 Podmen brothers. Myself and Jay did and it was a tough one. It got emotional. It got very emotional when it comes to Warrior and stuff like that. Very, very sad. And you couldn't write it. Sure, you couldn't. You really couldn't write that situation. Well, Landa turned the phone back on, and somebody on the plane basically shouted, "Holy shit, Warrior has passed away." And Ted, I'm sure you couldn't believe it. I'd say you thought someone was taking the piss, or they were talking about someone else. Hard to believe it, unbelievable. Passed away on the Tuesday after that Monday Night Raw, and just it was one of those moments, isn't it? Even as a wrestling fan, but it's just one of those moments. You know, you remember where you were when certain things in your life happened, and one of those was the passing of Warrior. And Ted in, couldn't believe it. Had only just seen him, obviously, into the Hall of Fame, and then on Raw the next night with the really cryptic promo that seemed like he knew. Yeah, that was the scary thing, wasn't it? That was the scary thing. And then, of course, you get all the conspiracy stuff and things like that and all, and brings you down that rabbit hole when you start reading it and stuff like that and all. But it was like as if he had to come back and sort the situation before he left us, but his greatness would live on forever. But absolutely such a weird one. Such a weird one. Right, folks, that's it. Thanks for joining me on the show. Really appreciate it. Of course, it is Dynamos Dozen. Subscribe to the channel, like on the video, hit the bell notification. Of course, share it around all your pro wrestling friends, fans and friends and stuff like that, and family and all. We're trying to build this community here. We're trying to ratchet up the chat and stuff like that. We're trying to also get to a situation where it's kind of, we're going to have a little bit like a call-in show as well and stuff like that. So we will be dropping the link in the comments and stuff like that for people if they want to come on and talk about shows they've been to or whatever it is, whatever the narrative is in the week and stuff like that. You know, we might do next week, I suppose we'll be on the road to WrestleMania. It'll be the week of Mania that we'll be in at that stage. So what we might do is we might do kind of like a cool call-in show where we get you to call in and tell us your couple of your favorite WrestleMania moments. What we'll do is we'll take you in order and stuff like that. So if you want to come on, we'll drop the link in the chat. But we will look next week. What we'll probably do is we'll fly through some of the standard stuff that we do in the history of pro wrestling, stuff like that. But we'll talk about our favorite WrestleMania moments, and that should be a good discussion. Absolutely stellar job from you guys in the chat tonight. As I say every week, you guys are the main event. I am the mere referee in this situation. Enjoy the rest of your week. Keep safe. I'll see you hopefully Thursday for the Kenny Noble show. Of course, I will be back Thursday as well, 9:15 with Dazzler on the upper tier for the Thursday tier talk. Have a great week. See you Thursday, folks.